It all started on a cold, rainy night. The streets were silent, and the sound of thunder echoed across the empty sky. I had just returned home after a long day, completely unaware that my life was about to change forever. As I placed my phone on the table, the screen suddenly lit up. An unknown message appeared. There was no name, no number, just one sentence. If you hear someone whisper your name tonight, don't answer. I laughed. It felt like one of those strange internet pranks people send to scare others. Without thinking twice, I deleted the message and went to bed. Hours passed, the rain became heavier, and the wind outside grew louder. At exactly 2:13 a.m., I woke up for no reason. The room was completely dark, except for the faint moonlight coming through the window. Then I heard it, a soft whisper. Very quietly, someone called my name. At first, I thought I was dreaming. I held my breath and listened carefully. A few seconds later, the whisper came again. This time, it sounded exactly like my mother's voice. But that couldn't be possible. My mother had passed away 3 years ago. A chill ran through my entire body. My heart started pounding so hard that I could hear every beat inside my ears. I reached for my phone to check the time again. 2:13 a.m. The whisper returned, a little louder than before. It wasn't coming from outside the house. It was coming from somewhere inside my bedroom. Slowly, I turned my head toward the old wooden closet standing in the corner of the room. The door was slightly open. I was certain I had closed it before going to sleep. As I stared into the darkness inside the closet, an icy breeze swept across my face. Then, I wanted to run. Every instinct in my body was telling me to get out of that room, but fear had frozen me in place. I could barely breathe as the closet door slowly creaked open. Inside, there was nothing, only darkness. I let out a nervous sigh, convincing myself that it was just the wind playing tricks on my mind. I took one careful step toward the closet and shined my phone's flashlight inside. The light revealed nothing except old boxes, dusty clothes, and thick cobwebs. Then suddenly, a freezing cold wind rushed past me. Every window in the room was locked. Before I could understand what was happening, I heard slow footsteps behind me. 1, 2, 3. The sound stopped only a few feet away. My hands began to shake. I slowly turned around. The room was empty. No one was there. At that exact moment, my phone started ringing. The screen made my blood run cold. The caller ID displayed my own name. For several seconds, I simply stared at it, unable to move. Finally, I answered the call. No one spoke. All I could hear was slow, heavy breathing. Then a faint whisper came through the speaker. "Don't look behind you." My heart nearly stopped. Every part of me wanted to ignore those words, but curiosity is stronger than fear. Very slowly, I turned my head. Standing near the bedroom door was a tall figure, completely covered in darkness. I couldn't see its face. Only 2 pale eyes reflected the moonlight. The figure didn't move. It simply stood there, watching me. Then, without making a single sound, it smiled. A cold wave of terror rushed through my body. The lights flickered once, twice, and suddenly, everything went completely black. When I finally opened my eyes, I was no longer in my bedroom. I was standing inside a cold, abandoned basement. The air smelled of damp concrete and rust. Water dripped slowly from the ceiling, and somewhere in the darkness, I could hear the sound of footsteps. I switched on my phone's flashlight and began walking forward. A long hallway stretched endlessly ahead of me. On both sides were old wooden doors, each covered with strange symbols carved deep into the surface. As I reached the last door, it slowly opened by itself. Inside the room sat an old woman in a wooden rocking chair. She looked directly at me without blinking, without smiling. In a calm voice, she whispered, "You're late." Behind her, the walls were covered with hundreds of old photographs. I stepped closer. My heart nearly stopped. Every photograph showed the same house, the same hallway, the same room. And then I saw one photograph that looked exactly like me. The face was mine. The clothes were mine. Even the terrified expression was mine. But the picture was old, very old. The date written beneath it read 1973. That was impossible. I wasn't even born. Suddenly, every photograph on the wall slowly turned toward me. Hundreds of eyes stared into mine. The walls began to shake. The lights went out. A freezing hand grabbed my shoulder from behind. I tried to scream, but no sound came out. Everything disappeared into darkness. The next morning, the police searched the abandoned house after neighbors reported strange noises during the night. They found no one inside, no footprints, no signs that anyone had been there. Only one thing remained: my phone. It was lying on the dusty floor, still recording. When the officers played the audio, they didn't hear my voice. They heard hundreds of whispers repeating the same warning. If you hear someone whisper your name, don't answer. No one knows who recorded those whispers. And if you ever receive a message with those exact words, delete it. Lock your doors. And whatever you do, if someone whispers your name in the middle of the night, don't answer.